It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're getting our tickets to both Black Panther and Black Adam. Mike?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. See how thin the wall gets stretched. I don't know.
We'll talk a little bit about these later. Armor Wars is getting an upgrade to movie status. So, I mean...
Ooh. Don Cheadle, I'm sure, is happy.
Man of fine suits. Yeah, you think the commitment for a movie is shorter? You know, maybe, possibly. They're just going to do that thing where they put the camera on his face and make him look around and have the UI follow it like they did with Robert Downey Jr. for years.
He'll just sell his likeness to the studio, and then he'll just be sipping drinks on a beach somewhere.
That's true. He's probably a Skrull. We saw him in that trailer with Secret Invasion. Deadpool 3 is 100% confirmed, Mike. No longer have to worry if it's coming, when it's coming, or anything else. We have those details and more.
Yeah, I feel like the last couple weeks on the podcast, we've almost been like tracking the fall season. A couple weeks ago, we were like, all right, everybody, it's unofficially fall. Here we go. It's September. People going crazy with their pumpkin spice lattes. The following week, we actually ran into the official end of summer. So, like, okay, there we go again. And now we have another, like, official start of now it is the beginning of October, which I would say is the official start of, like, spooky season, right? I think you can start fall ahead of time, but October is the month for spooky movies, for skeletons, and in my point of view, it's candy corn season.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna bring up the candy corn. I just knew it.
Solid, you got to be solidly rooted in the candy season. That's for October only, because like fall keeps going, man. As soon as October's over, you got a couple weeks, at least here in the United States, until you get to Thanksgiving. And once that turkey's done, you know you can shift into the other holiday. But I busted open the candy corn today. It's delicious.
So to me, I've been seeing a lot of this lately. I believe I maybe told you the high end candy corn companies have been out for a while now. But I agree with you. You know, when fall officially or legally hit, right? I feel summer just kind of clocked out and was like, nah, I'm done with these high temperatures. Like, you can have your...
I like how you... like how you say legally hit, like there's like a police officer out there with a billy club, like ready to just like knock like the tiny fun size Snickers out of your hand. Like not yet.
Summer's an hourly employee, and they're not working overtime this year. They said no way I'm taking a vacation. So here, literally the day it turned fall, temperatures dropped about 20 degrees. I know you've kind of been a little bit warmer out there, right, Mike?
We dropped a little bit as well. Finally, sustainable, I would say, temperatures, something that won't melt your face off. I know you've been like teetering around with Halloween costume ideas already.
Yep.
So I want you to tell me and our listeners about that. But also as a PSA of, yes, Halloween is indeed at the very end of the month. And, you know, there's a chance you might have Halloween parties just before that as well. But you got to order those pieces for your costume sooner rather than later.
Gotta get them now.
Like, you'll think of the perfect costume like a week or a couple days before your party or Halloween. You're just like, I can't get any of this stuff here in time.
Oh, yeah.
So just a heads up.
That is essentially how I've operated on my costume this year because... should I say what it is, Mike? Should I tell people or should I leave it? Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell people what I'm working on.
Okay. All right. So my wife and I have both agreed to do Thor and Mighty Thor from the most recent Thor movies. Oh,
great.
It's a great couple's costume, right? It works. You know, we did joke, and this is very off color, that, you know, is she going to be the Cancer Jane or actual Mighty Thor? I'm like, that's not good.
You could do it like those Two-Face costumes, right? Where it's like right down the line, left side, right side.
Yeah, they all they did kind of with Cancer Jane is just give her some like light makeup and some gaunt looking at like dark eyeshadow. So they didn't really do that justice. But anyway, so I was able to surprisingly, 2 years, no, not 2 years. How long has been Endgame been? Like 2019, 3 years after Endgame, secure one of the bigger Stormbreaker axes actually at retail value rather than have to go secondhand. Got the costumes, and then Mike got a very, very solid picture of the hairpiece I got because my hair is probably Thor Ragnarok length right now, not Thor Love and Thunder length. So I had to get a little, I guess, wig, if you will, for that. Mike got to see that. It looks pretty good. I think it's not, an official one, but like it's pretty solid in what it looks like. And not going hashtag bless. I have the same hair color as the wig, so it should blend in pretty good. But yeah, we're doing Thor's this year, and I knew the second I didn't get it, it would totally be sold out, right? Like that's the movie just hit physical recently. It's a pretty easy costume. A lot of people love doing Fat Thor, right? So that's it's always an option for those who are like, I don't want to get fit for it, or I can throw a pillow under my shirt. But yeah, we're going with that. I was able to get everything before October, and last year I was doing like Halloween costumes 2 days before an event. So I feel I've really flipped the script for 2022, Mike, on that. So yeah. So what are you working on? Are you going to be human candy corn?
No, I'm going as a low-key, intentionally kind of lazy Cusco from the Emperor's New Groove.
Oh, very nice.
I just ordered like a giant size like red t-shirt, like an oversized one. That's not only oversized, it's also like for like tall people in general. So I want to swim intentionally in this shirt. And then you get like some like those sweat guards that you put on your wrists, right? You get some of those that are yellow, but you put them on your ankles. I know he has like a very particular looking headpiece, but I don't even know if I'll go that far. But I ordered like a yellow bucket hat, and I was like, okay, I'm on to something here. What else am I going to do? And I was like, well, he has like a red belt that kind of like turns his like tunic into like almost like a two-piece dress type of situation. So I was like, oh, I'll get like a cheap like red fanny pack, and I'll almost kind of look like a streetwear Cusco, if you will. So I'm going in comfortable, that's for sure. And there's kind of like this South South American, right, kind of like neck piece, or I don't even really know what it is in the cartoon, but it's like kind of like red tunic with a yellow piece around the neck. So I just got one of those like dickies that you wear when you want like a turtleneck under your shirt, but you don't want to wear a whole turtleneck. So I got one of those, and I'm gonna dye it yellow. So I think it'll be it'll be like fun, janky looking. So I'm looking forward to that, and it fits the perfect line that I'm always trying to hit when I do Halloween costumes. Is I want to be recognizable but also comfortable at the same time. And this is pretty much all like normal cotton clothing that I'm wearing. So I'm always down for that. I always try to avoid any sort of like makeup or anything like that. That's just too much for me. So I feel like that works well. And like I said, you got to order this stuff ahead of time, because one of the pieces I need for my costume, it's not Prime. It's not Amazon Prime. It's shipping like a normal, like a freaking normal product that's going to be here like in 2 weeks instead of tomorrow. So there you go. That's your PSA for the top of the show. Get ready for Halloween early. Get those pieces in sooner rather than later, so you can have the best time of your life this Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. So I got don't undersell the I guess local Halloween stores, right? I was able to get mine at a party city rather than like a Spirit Halloween, so I was able to like walk in and pick up a Thor outfit there, right? So don't forget to check inventory on your local stuff as well, rather than relying online. You can get lucky, but yeah, like don't be a last minute person, because you will regret it.
There's a very good chance the last time you went to your local Bed Bath & Beyond, it closed since then, and it's probably a Spirit Halloween. So if you don't even know where they are, just hunt down the last big box store that you thought existed.
The last time I believe I went to Indianapolis, which was like earlier in the summer, they had probably more yard signs for that Spirit Halloween that took over. Probably it wasn't a Bed Bath & Beyond, it was like a bigger, like maybe like a Home Depot or a Lowe's that had closed. And I was like, good God, this is like, they're popping up in the summer, and they want you to know where they are. So hopefully hopefully you can find them. But yeah, that's some good stuff. But as you mentioned, it is October 1st. It is time, like you said, October 1 to October 31, great spooky season, right? Spooky movies. When ABC Family was a thing, they had a countdown to Halloween, right, where they do stuff every night or every weekend through that. And it's a good time to go grab some scary movies. So Mike, I've been busy. Everyone knows I was officiating a wedding this weekend. I have not had. This is like literally the first day I've been home, and most of it has been spent just like laid up on a couch because you party too hard at weddings. But you gotta get into some spooky stuff, and I looked away from my phone for 5 minutes and ended up with a thread, probably a mile long, about one of these movies you watched, and it wasn't a good thread, which made it even better for me.
Yeah, exactly. This is why it's always good to have a good close friend in your text ready to go when you're ready to complain about a movie, because the internet doesn't need to see that in real time. I don't want to edit myself, right?
Oh, yeah.
So this will be I guess we'll start calling this the hollow stream. The hollow stream for a Superhero Slate for the month of October, and this is an update for my Predator progress. Working my way kind of haphazardly through the Predator franchise. Since last we talked, I was kind of in the midst of Alien vs. Predator 2. Finally wrapped that bad boy up. I moved on to The Predator, which was from Shane Black from 2018. So I wrapped that bad boy up, and I intend on watching the two that are remaining for me, which would be Predator 2, which is the original sequel to the Predator franchise. And then,
Danny Glover.
Yes, and the most recent one, Prey, which was the direct-to-Hulu Predator movie. And once I get them all watched, I'll just do like a fun little ranking here on the top of the show. But I think it is safe to say that one of the ones I just recently watched is going to be very at the bottom of the list, and that would be The Predator. What a strange movie. I will give them credit for at least attempting something different, because when you start to watch the Predator franchise, you do start to get the feeling of every time you watch one of these, it's just kind of an attempt to reignite this franchise, this notable IP. Is there any way we can get it up and get it going again? Because all of these movies, like Alien vs. Predator, Predators, The Predator, they all end with like kind of these cliffhanger kind of after credits sceney type of scenes, like just hoping and wishing that enough people like these movies that they'll be able to make a sequel. And the Predator's no different, and is probably the worst offender of them all, Chris.
There are always more aliens out there, right? I agree with that. And this movie, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, is directed and possibly written by Shane Black.
Yes, he has his grubby little fingers all over this. And to be fair, it feels like a Shane Black movie. So I wouldn't necessarily put all the blame on him. The studio hired him to make a Shane Black movie, and he made a Shane Black movie, which just does not fit in the Predator universe.
So this, Shane Black had been kind of, I wouldn't say on a hot streak, but on a pretty good roll, right? Iron Man 3, despite what you think about it, made a lot of money. He directed and wrote it. He did The Nice Guys, and then comes along to The Predator. Well, the only problem is I believe they cast, and is even still in this movie, one of his friends who was, I believe, accused of or even like convicted of sexual misconduct. And he like did one of those stupid director things where he stuck to his guns, like, no. I'm gonna get this guy into this movie regardless of everything going on. So that kind of like brought the movie down a notch, and then the quality alone of this movie is enough to beat your head against the wall several times.
Oh yeah, the story is bizarre. The single worst thing is this child character, which has Asperger's, and it's pitched as basically this kid is a walking kind of like R2-D2, right? He can solve any technology problem that is put in like our protagonist's path. He comes across a crew of literal like suicidal characters. Like whenever you're in the third act and there is like an insurmountable problem, if the kid's not solving a computer problem, one of these like cast of gang members, like his gang, will just like run into like a propeller or just like suicide kill themselves. And it's so bizarre. There's some really glaringly bad special effects which is very shocking. I had to shoot video of my own TV screen so I could send it to you, so I could specifically complain about what I was looking at. I mean, like I said, at least they tried to introduce new ideas to be like, okay, well, nothing else has really worked to relaunch the Predator franchise. Let's see if Iron Man 3 guy can do it. It didn't quite work out.
The other reason, besides Iron Man 3 and the Nice Guys, is Shane Black was a script doctor and acted in the first Predator. He was actually one of the crew members with the Dutch in there. He was like the kind of like the nerdy guy who was like, he had a hat on and he was always kind of whiny about it.
He has glasses too. He's the scrawniest one of the soldiers.
Right, yeah, he was like the worst one. And I'm like, so I understand the hiring for this, but like, boy, howdy, did he just go the wrong way. I don't blame the actors. I think there's a really good cast in this movie, right? Like, what do you think? Because Olivia Munn's in here.
It's
the guy from Logan's in here.
Thomas Jane, is he in it as well? Am I getting that right?
It's a good question.
It's a great cast. It's just the wrong movie. Like, put a different title on it. Get yourself out of these kind of rules and bounds of having to deal with a predator, and you're just kind of making a different alien movie. But yeah, it was bad. But yeah, I will update everybody again when I get to watch the last two, and I'll kind of give everybody an informal ranking for my progress of all the Predator films.
Yes, and I did want to correct myself from, I think it was last week or the week before. I hopped on my arcade the other day and came across an Alien versus Predator side-scroller beat-em-up game for arcade. And I looked it up. It was actually released in 1993. So AVP was a video game before it was a movie along the way.
Yeah. I was a little bummed because I was doing a little research to be like, okay, I want to make sure I have seen every movie that contains a predator. And I was kind of hoping maybe there'd be like one sneaky one out there, but there wasn't, unfortunately. But then I was like, oh, maybe there's like a video game, because I know that they've been kind of doing a better job making Alien video games. So I was like, oh, maybe there's like a Predator video game from like the PS3 era or something that has like a bit of a story, and I can just go watch like the cutscenes compiled on YouTube. I didn't really find anything quite like that. So if anybody knows of anything like that out there in the world, I'd love to just kind of be a bit of a media completionist on that end of things that I could watch. Yeah. But yeah, that's my progress with the Predator. And I won't say much about the next thing because Chris has been very, very busy. But Hocus Pocus 2 has dropped. It's out there in the world. Maybe we'll reminisce about it a little bit when you get a chance to watch it. But I know that's been the hot thing this weekend. Seeing lots of Sanderson's sister cosplays pop up in my timelines and feeds, and all I'll say is it feels very similar to the first one. So it's kind of one of those reviews of like, oh, if you like the first one, you're going to like the second one type of deals.
Yeah. I've only read one thing about this, and it was actress related. Kathy Najimy, who plays the brunette sister. Her, if you watch the trailers, and this is not a spoiler, her tick with her mouth and jaw is on the other side for this movie than the other one.
Oh my God! Is it Multiverse confirmed? Is it a different witch?
No. They explained it in the movie. You watched the movie? They explained it. They told the scene in the movie. I don't know. Well, because she said as an actress she couldn't do the old way with her mouth like anymore. Like she lost, so she had to go the other way for this one. But they came up with a way on script where she got hit and the mouth goes the other way. I was like, oh, that's like a little Nicky thing. Yeah. Well, obviously you're a Hocus Pocus stan, Mike. I can tell. It's a movie you've got all the knowledge on. So, all right. Well, let's shift into spooky season. This is coming up, I believe, right around the corner.
This
maybe
week.
a week.
I think it's the 7th, possibly. I don't know the exact date, but. Yeah. I think we'll be able to talk about this movie next week.
Yeah, that's why
special.
A one shot. I was trying to figure out. I'm gonna pull up here the TV special, and I believe it's October 7th. So is that Saturday, Friday?
It's Friday.
Yeah, Friday. Which is So coming out this week, and the social media reviews and stuff have kind of been lifted. The entire special is in black and white, Mike. We kind of had some hints that maybe there would be color, right? We saw even the posters a little bit in color. Then we see some, but this entire special is in black and white. And some of the reviewers like, well, this is probably how they got away with the TV, or like a lower rating because it might be TV MA if it was not in black and white the whole way through. So. This kind of got me excited.
It's almost kind of like, yeah. I mean, I know things on like probably Disney's services are a little bit more locked down, but if you're really streaming, it almost doesn't even matter. I know the other movie that's been in conversation was that Marilyn Monroe movie. I think it's called Blonde. That's on Netflix. That movie's NC-17, but like you would never know it unless you just kind of saw people chatting about it on Twitter, like I did. You know, it's not like when you open up Netflix, you know, it like walls it off, you know, with like a big like password. You know, obviously if you're on a child account, you know, it would do that. But yeah.
Well, I think that's what's for child accounts, right? Or hopefully in the future when we only have one streaming service for Hulu and Disney, and everything's just like in one go, like everybody else in the world has. So, but yeah, either way, it is in black and white. And per Kevin Feige, who's out in the world doing rounds this week, I don't know what for. He said it will affect the MCU. Like, this movie is not something that you watch and you'll never see again. It will affect the MCU. And, it kind of brought me back to the D23. I know it's an Avengers Campus ride with King Thanos, right? But, like, we saw Man-Thing and Werewolf by Night there. So I definitely think they'll pop up in the multiverse, if not anything, Secret Wars at the end of the phase.
Yeah, and I'll be keeping an eye out for like hints for more kind of mythological things, like vampires, right? We know we have that coming up. I know we'll be talking about Blade a little bit later in the episode as well. But yeah, we've got to start seeding that a little bit. And I think they just try to tease vampire whenever they can. Even like She-Hulk had at least mention of vampiric stuff.
We've had two in She-Hulk. One was last week. One of the I guess 2 weeks ago. One of the wives of Mr. Immortal is apparently like a named vampire in the comic books. And then what was it? Was it Eternals? Where they specifically say vampires because it's like you live forever, like vampires kind of thing.
Maybe we're thinking Loki, possibly.
Yeah, it might have been Loki. Yeah. It's they never. So I agree with you. What other creatures are we going to see in this that they're just not telling us yet? So, very excited, very very excited to talk about that next week with you, Mike. As we get, like you said, into spooky season. Ooh. Speaking of spooky characters, the Scarlet Witch. She's a hot topic, right? Hot topic. She got her, I guess, an effective send-off in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But Kevin Feige out doing his rounds. She's almost kind of confirming this character's return. Per his quote, and this is in quotes, I don't know that we saw her under rubble. I saw a tower coming down and a little red flash. I don't know what that means. I'd work with Lizzie for another 100 years if we could. And also, anything's possible in the multiverse. We'll have to see. It kind of feels like they could pull a multiverse version in for Secret Wars if they wanted to, right?
Yeah, or like it doesn't even have to be like a multiverse version, right? I mean, like there's like two components you have to look at here. First of all, the rule of just movie and film of like if you don't see your hero physically dead, if there's no body, there's no confirmed death, right? And then rule number two, just read any comic book, right? These characters are getting offed and coming back all the time through all sorts of means, and it's even easier to do with a magical character, right? I could like think of 10 different ideas off the top of my head of how she's still alive. That red flash could have been her sacrificing her powers to keep herself alive. It could have been her teleporting. It could have been like a million different things, right? But we got what we needed out of it. Though.
Well, and I think the only other reason is the hot topic is, right, the incoming flood of mutants in the MCU, right? The next phase, which I've seen some people this week even dubbing the mutant saga, right, for the next like saga. So like Scarlet Witch has such a history of doing the no more mutants, right? In the comic books, her father is Magneto. Like there's a lot that they can still do with her character that they couldn't do in the MCU due to the lack of I guess rights and stuff along the way. So I totally could see them pulling her in to do that wholeheartedly. And I just lost Elizabeth. It's not Lizzie McGuire. It's Elizabeth Olsen. But totally, I totally could see her being down to do it again. Right? I think she'd be fun. So yeah, Scarlet Witch. We'll let you guys know if we hear anything else. News this week I didn't think was real until I actually saw it came from Marvel.com. Was Armor Wars, the TV show that was not on San Diego Comic Con, but they brought it up at, was it D23, right, where they brought the logo at least for the series to say, yes, we are still working on this, don't worry. They've transitioned that from a series into a movie, so it has been transitioned in how we'll see it. So we'll see this in theaters with Don Cheadle's War Machine again being the front and center of this film, Mike.
Yeah, this is pretty wild. I think the first thing that came to my head is like, has this happened before, right? I feel like at least I have vague memories or like rumors of just like, oh, a Disney Plus series was once possibly going to be a movie, right? We always heard about, Secret Wars,
Obi-Wan.
Secret Invasion, like film on the horizon, Obi-Wan, exactly.
Yeah.
But then it ends up going to series. But like, this is the first time we've seen it go the other way around, and I'm not mad about it at all, because it seems like the more and more Disney Plus series I watch out of like Lucasfilm or Marvel, they still to me seem like movies chopped up. I don't know if we're ever gonna get out of that phase. I'm watching Andor. I'm slowly working my way through it. Just finished episode 2, and I'm liking it, which is great. No complaints there. But it still does not feel episodic. The second episode kind of like weirdly ends on this kind of emotional music where like Andor is kind of walking through this like scrapyard, and you're just like, oh, what are they trying to tell me with this scene? Where is he going? What's happening here? And the next episode like picks up where he's just in that same scrapyard, like again. So it's just like, so the episode didn't like end on any like, no, it's just, this is just the cut before the next scene happens. So hopefully this is a good thing for Armor Wars, and we won't have to worry about any sort of this like kind of weird TV tone. It will be a movie. Yeah,
and Don Cheadle, he is going to be in Secret Invasion, like we talked about at the top of the show, right? Like he's got a prominent role in that. He's still out here. I don't think he's replacing Iron Man. I don't think Ironheart's replacing Iron Man. But War Machine, Don Cheadle, I guess Rhodes. He was in essentially movie number 1, although a different actor. He's been around one of the longest in the MCU, right? So it's just good that he's able to continue going. And when Iron Man has moved on and passed on, they didn't just drop the character completely, right?
I would say the whole theme moving forward here with these armored characters is that who can replace Tony and what happens when his kind of presence is absent, right? It's going to be like what happens to the world when Iron Man's not there. So I think they'll play off of that.
And again, with it being Armor Wars based on the comics, what happens when Tony's actual tech that is effective gets in the wrong hands? And they kind of, I guess, touched on that. Was it Spider-Man Far From Home, right? His glasses got in the hands of a disgruntled ex-employee. But, War Machine, I'm looking at your thumbnail right now for the episode, Mike, and I will tell you, one of the disappointing packs of Endgame is we didn't see Rhodey go from his regular suit to his upgraded badass suit for the end battle. He just showed up in it, and we didn't get to see that transition into that big red and blue one, which is like kind of like a, I wouldn't say Hulkbustery, but damn, it's an intimidating looking machine, if I say so myself.
It's kitted out, and I feel like Don Cheadle is like a pilot, not exactly a mechanist.
Yeah.
So like, is that just the government like keep souping up this costume, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think this one was in the Avengers. Well, yeah, he's right, because he was the only person in the Avengers compound, right? Whenever Captain America showed up. So, yeah, what is it? Is it the government? Has it Tony been kind of future-proofed him along the way? I don't know, but the question for me is now it's going from a series to a movie. You need an antagonist, someone running things. I was thinking, Obadiah Stane in the comic books has a son, right? So is it going to be like the legacy of Tony versus the legacy of Stane coming back around? I think would be interesting for that. Or is one of my favorites, Justin Hammer. I think he can. Iron Man 2 didn't do him justice. He's been shown, the actor has been shown to work again with the return of the All Hail the King short from Iron Man 3. Could he be back around? I don't know. Is there anything that you think you'd want to see out of this?
I feel like I want to be surprised. I mean, I think Justin Hammer does make a lot of sense, right? It's kind of like this hanging Chad from the Iron Man universe that we're waiting to kind of see come back, but maybe don't make it all him. What's like that X factor that you throw in there that makes it like a little bit different? So that's I feel like that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. I think what I would love is a competent Justin Hammer. I think Iron Man 2 made him like a goofball, but like if he was so stupid, he probably wouldn't have got all those government contracts along the way. So I feel like if you're going to do it, yeah, it needs to be somebody smart. But, great. We don't have a release date for this yet. I'm going to guess this is one of those Phase 6 movies, right, in 2024. So if that updates, we'll let you guys know. Next two movies are going to end up wrapping up Phase 5, and the first of those is Captain America New World Order. And right now, Mark Ruffalo is in talks to return as the Hulk in that movie. Because I don't know what else we put him in the list of other movies we have along the way. Would you? I've got the list of movies pulled up on our site, but I'm like, I don't know where the Hulk would show up at in any of these.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out what Captain America New World Order looks like, right? Because I feel like with Falcon, like who was he connected to throughout like the universe? I mean, you could say Black Widow, she's dead, right? It doesn't seem like Bucky's going to be in this movie because he'll be occupied in the Thunderbolts, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like in order to bolster the new Captain America, you kind of need to bring in like these new connections. So I'm honestly just trying to think of conversations, right, that Falcon's had with Hulk in the movies. Like, have they really shared many scenes together? Like, what?
No, and I think that
think of anything.
that might be the interesting part here, because we do know the leader is the villain, right? Who was an Incredible Hulk villain. So and so the Incredible Hulk movie was trying to replicate the Super Soldier Serum, which gave Steve Rogers his powers. So is this because he's the new Captain America, and this is from a Hulk movie? Is that the connection, right? Like the leader has Captain America / Hulk blood in him. And we're dealing with Captain America and Hulk teaming up. Is he on the side? Is he the smart Hulk, right? Not maybe a brawn, but more of a brain to fight the leader. Because
I mean, he's gonna need help. He's not super powered. I mean, he's got vibranium, right? He's got Wakandan tech surrounding him, but it's not necessarily shown us in the kind of final episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier that suit is on par with like a Black Panther suit, right? Which is something that almost anyone could kind of get in with training and become superhuman. This is just kind of more like a kitted out like Falcon suit. So I feel he's gonna need some backup, that's for sure, because he doesn't have that superpower along the side of him. But yeah, I always welcome a Hulk cameo or a Hulk team up. Worked great in Ragnarok, so I don't know why it couldn't work here.
The other rumor I didn't put in here, because we'll probably know more in the next 2 weeks, is Tatiana Maslany returning She-Hulk in this as well. My fears, I don't want Captain America New World Order to become a Hulk movie. But the Mark Ruffalo, I think an Avenger with an Avenger makes a lot more sense along the way. Shifting gears into the Thunderbolts that you just mentioned. This has not been confirmed by Marvel, but Harrison Ford himself is rumored to be the front runner for recasting of Thunderbolt Ross, aka the Red Hulk, for this movie.
I mean that's the best way to kind of do replacement casting, right? You bring in somebody even more famous, right? Because if you bring in somebody like equally or like lesser known, right? People are always gonna gripe or something about that. But yeah, I feel like Harrison Ford's like a really good like kind of pitch hitter, right? Bring this guy in. Because unfortunately the recasting has to happen. Rest in peace,
William Hurt.
I'm almost more confused if it'll even happen, because I feel like the vibe that everyone gets from Harrison Ford is he's an old cranky man who doesn't really want to do anything. Well, but then I feel like that almost was shed a little bit when he was at the D23 Expo and he was like crying on stage about returning as Indiana Jones, and it's like that's pretty wild. I wasn't expecting that. So who knows? Maybe everything that we've heard about Harrison Ford is wrong. We can't just pigeonhole him or shoehorn him.
Well, and I think the other thing is I've got a note here. Could he maybe start an appearance in New World Order, right? Because Thunderbolt Ross was in the Incredible Hulk, and if there's the leader and the Hulk in there, and then it comes into Thunderbolts. But if it's gonna be the Red Hulk, right, and that's the leading theory here, is why they're recasting him, because they want the Red Hulk in this Thunderbolts as like the villain. Is it mostly a CGI role, right? Is he just providing voice and some facial motion capture for this, and then letting everything else run? And that's why he's like, you're only going to be in human form for like maybe 10 minutes. The rest of it, we're just going to get your face on set. So I think like someone of that age, that caliber, could be like, yeah, that's fine with me. I don't need to be, crashing airplanes or getting doors slammed on my legs during production of these movies. So yeah, if that comes to true, we'll let you guys know. But that's I think that's a huge grab all around for Marvel. Keep on going. This is, there's been some hot takes on this, Mike, but the official report is Bassam Tarek, the director of Blade, has left the film due to scheduling conflicts because Blade has kept getting pushed back in production. He's working on other movies. Now, this was first announced in SECC 2019, and now we have a release date. I have it pulled up here at superheroslate.com/upcoming superhero. Don't write that down. Just go there and click upcoming releases. You'll see all our stuff. November 3rd of 2023. So, this movie's been pushed back. So the directors had to leave. Some other bits of this news comes to the rumored script is that this movie is going to take place in the 1920s in Europe, Mike, to help kind of be close to the comic book origin of Blade, but also be like he was fighting vampires in Europe, where like those rumors and theories of vampires are much largely or originated, right? Yeah. So not over here in America.
Yeah, because that's a part of the universe that they're gonna have to start building out, which is kind of pre Captain America / pre Iron Man, right? As far as it's been pitched to us. Captain America happens in, World War II. He's on ice, and then maybe not a lot of superheroing happened between then and Iron Man. Obviously some covert stuff, because we have seen, like, the Winter Soldier doing some covert missions, like killing Tony's parents, right? That has happened in between there. But, yeah, as far as we know, the world was relatively normal before Cap came along, a.k.a. the first Avenger. So I guess you build it out that these vampires have kind of always been around, that we just haven't seen them. They've been in the secret world, and I guess you could say that the sorcerers have always been around as well.
We've got some real life like the Salem witch trials, right? Like there's always been history, but I think to me, with the MCU, it's very much a lot of it is America and New York, right? If you're not in America and New York, nothing's happening, right? So, is it because, we've not really discovered, we haven't gone into the Europe countries yet, Man-Thing might be over there, right? That could help, not Man-Thing, Werewolf by Night could be over there, set in Europe, maybe an Eastern European kind of country, to help kind of seed some of these vampire roots. So, with that, though, the 1920s thing kind of throws up a red flag. So, is he... I think this is in the comics. He was born in like 1920s and half vampire. So is he aging slower because of that? They're gonna have to get in that a little bit.
Yeah, I would assume so. Right?
Yeah.
And that makes the character probably even more, just even more intense, right? Once you get them to present day, because he'll be a fully formed vampire hunter with like decades and decades of experience behind him. So when he finally does get to team up with somebody in the presence, like a Ghost Rider or who knows what else, like
Dane Whitman from the Eternals.
Yeah, there you go.
Because he's got a sword. The other thing is writer Bo DeMeo, who worked on Moon Knight and is working on the X-Men 97, is rumored to be helping with the script as well while they look for a new director. Because obviously the director has a lot of input, right? During that pre-production process. So if he's leaving this close to production, A, the movie's going to probably be delayed, and B, they're probably going to have to work the script a little bit more, getting ready for the new director, just to make sure that's taken care of. So, I don't think I'm worried about this movie. I just wish something would happen with it, right? Like, It's interesting because Blade is one of the older superhero movies from the 90s, right? That kind of kicked off the modernization of superhero films a little bit before X-Men.
We can't rule out a chance that in the Secret Wars, right, that Wesley Snipes, multiversal Blade, pops up.
Yeah. Or I honestly, even if he didn't show up as Blade, but it was like a different character in the Blade movie, kind of like an homage kind of thing. I think it'd be kind of fun, right? Like he's like not Whistler, but like he's another person in the movie. It'd be fun. But Blade supposed to be October of 2023, so I don't think they're gonna make it if they don't find someone soon. Moving on, Mike, I was telling you right before the show here, just right out the gate, tickets for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever go on sale tomorrow. A theater chain did confirm it today. If you're listening to this on Sunday night, get ready for Monday. If you're on Monday, get your tickets because Black Panther made $1 billion. Theaters were sold out for weeks, right? Do you remember that when you couldn't get another ticket to go watch this movie?
Yeah, don't underestimate how incredibly popular this movie was domestically. That's where it made the lion's share of its money, and it was big news because we had not seen a lot of these superhero movies overperforming here in the States. They were always counting on the international box office to kind of, round out the big budgets. So I think this will be no different just because Chadwick's not behind it. I think it'll almost be cathartic, right? Most normal people out there didn't get to, send off Chadwick Boseman in any, kind of meaningful way because he was just an actor, a character on the screen to us, right? But now we kind of get to go in with this fictional family and this fictional universe and kind of grieve with them, move forward, push the story forward, and send them off in a great way. So, yeah. All that being said, get ready to buy your tickets.
Yeah, get ready. Well, it's also one of the things, even if it's, people will want to see it out of curiosity. How are they going to handle this movie? How are they going to handle the loss of the real-life Chadwick Boseman and how they're going to do the Black Panther in this? And also, one of the biggest, one of the original comic book characters, Namor, is going to be in this movie. So, there's a lot on it. And the other big thing is, this movie has been confirmed to be 2 hours and 41 minutes long, Mike. A very long movie. So screenings are gonna be longer, so you're not gonna have as many showings in a day, right? So if you thought you had problems with the first one, this is gonna be even more because they won't have seats available because the screenings won't be over yet. So I'm excited to get my tickets, ready to get in there. I think I am going to forego the IMAX on day one and just go to the closer theater, but I'm very, very excited to get back into the theaters for Marvel next month in November. Oh, we also talked about possibly a trailer coming. We have no confirmation, but I feel like they're going to give us a trailer when they do the tickets. So be prepared for that. Things that you're going to have to Google on your own because I can't give you guys a link here. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, the D23 footage / trailer leaked online today. And a very clear kind of footage as well. Mike was able to watch it this morning with me, and I tell you, it gives some good stuff.
Yeah, not a bad one. I would say at least 99% of the screen is actually within the frame. Not exactly at the angle that you would want to watch it at, but you pretty much get everything there. I was looking out for the MODOK, and we're not. There's not much of it there. It's still the exact same number of frames of MODOK. You just kind of get to see it a little bit clearer now. But I feel like I've seen people kind of almost upscaling a screenshot of different cam leaks or something. So we're getting a kind of more of a clearer view of what this kind of robotic costume is looking like. But I think my takeaway from this I almost want to say leaked footage in a way. It is cut to kind of resemble a trailer, but it feels weird as a trailer, right? This doesn't seem like something that would ever get published. That the pacing and tone seems kind of odd, not because the movie would necessarily be bad, but it's just take these clips that we have finished, that are off the, the cutting room floor that are about there, kind of slap them together and maybe throw some temp music on it. That's kind of what it feels like. Which is totally fine when you're on a convention type of environment. So I would imagine our first trailer is not going to quite look like this.
Yeah, it feels more like a highlight reel, right? Hey, here's the beats. There's the Bill Murray scene. There's the not scene, frames. There is the MODOK frames. We get some Kang and Ant-Man kind of facing off and Kang saying, I need you to get something, right? Real basic. Nothing huge. So I agree that this won't be the one we see when it hits the online, but I think, to me, we've talked about this in depth before. Ant-Man 1, humorous movie, low stakes. Ant-Man 2, humorous movie, low stakes. Ant-Man 3, big stakes, a lot less funny. This is not a funny trailer at all. Like, I feel like the tone of the Ant-Man stuff is shifting to be serious because this is the first movie for Kang, who is getting his own Avengers film later, and also like really this is a lot more stakes on the line. It's not just a shrink down building, right, that people are carrying around as a briefcase. So I think it's gonna be huge. This is our next movie after Black Panther, and I've said this before. I'll probably be wrong. They'll probably have a trailer before Black Panther for this, but I could be wrong. Maybe we'll get it this month, maybe not. But if you want to take that out, go do your Google research, and you're gonna find the Ant-Man and the Wasp D23 leaked footage. Things I did not expect to see this week, Mike. Ryan Reynolds out there making his own announcements, because the trailer the footage we're about to talk about, this announcement was on Ryan Reynolds' own personal YouTube page, Twitter page, Instagram, whatever, not the Deadpool page, which I think is even better, right? Because it kind of hides a little bit. But Deadpool 3 has been confirmed for Ryan Reynolds with a September 6th, 2024 release date, Mike. And do you think that is the most important part of this announcement?
No, this is not the most important part of the announcement. I mean, I could vamp on it for a second to just say that Ryan Reynolds, it's just crazy to think that like his social media accounts are like an actual real part of his success and like assets, right? Like it almost feels like if he was to get divorced and Blake Lively took half of everything, she should get half of his social media followers, because that's his juggernaut, right? That's why he can just go out there and just like be like buy like part of Mint Mobile or a gin company or a soccer team across the pond, right? Yeah. And he just tweets about it, and they just all increase in value. Yeah. So why not do the same thing with announcing the next Deadpool movie?
He's like The Rock, but without like the ego, right? Like he's like a funnier version of The Rock. Like The Rock's doing all the black, like he's carrying Black Adam on his own social accounts, and Ryan's like, I'll do Deadpool. It felt very similar to that kind of stuff. But Mike, what is the big announcement here? Ryan Reynolds is wearing the suit from the end of Deadpool 2, as he tells us he has no ideas for this movie. What was the big takeaway, Mike, that everyone is like, quote unquote, broke the internet this week?
There's a huge Jackman in the back of his. I don't even think that's his house. I think it's a set or a place that they're shooting out of. But yeah, Hugh Jackman's just walking around in the background saying that he'll be in the movie. Yeah,
so literally, you don't know this going into this. Ryan's like, "Yep, we want to make it the best movie ever." He's like, "I got nothing. We have no ideas. We've tried everything." And then he was like, "You know what? You can't tell it's Hugh Jackman at first. Like it's just some random person in the background, right? Like he's like, "Hey, Hugh, you want to be in Deadpool?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." And then he's like going up the stairs eating an apple. So I'm like, "This is wild. Like you don't even have him in the trailer. He's at the back of the trailer or teaser." It's fantastic. I thought this was a brilliant piece to kind of announce this separately outside of everything else, right? And get people talking about it. So, yeah. And then did you catch the follow-up the next day, the part Hugh, the Deadpool?
Oh, the most frustrating one, of course. They're not going to give us any more information because it's just such an announcement. But they play some funny music over the top of them trying to explain what's going to happen. And it was a little bit of a confirmation for me in a sense of, like, it wasn't totally clear to me, like, oh, is Hugh Jackman going to be in the movie or is Wolverine going to be in the movie? And then when I watched the second video, and even when they were kind of just acting out different things that'll happen in the movie, they showed like Hugh Jackman did like kind of like the claws in Deadpool's kind of head thing. I was like, okay, I think this is obviously going to be Wolverine. And then all the hot takes and think pieces dropped on the internet after that, right? Of like, oh, how could they disrespect the ending of Logan? Is this going to be a different multiversal Wolverine, what exactly is going on here. I mean, I feel like the most logical thing that's going to happen here is in Deadpool 3, something multiversal is going to happen in a way. Multiversal or time travel or something just so satirical, it just doesn't even matter what happens because, like, just Deadpool doesn't live in, like, a real reality, right? You know, I feel like if you're firmly rooted in the MCU, you kind of need to follow MCU rules. But I feel like Deadpool gets the ability to transcend that because not only is he rated R, he's also just so far out there, right? That, like, if I see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in a Deadpool movie, I'm not just assuming that that is Logan from Logan. And also, you have to remember, too, when you watch Logan, it's almost kind of in a different universe, isn't it? Right? Like they say that it's not really part of the X-Men universe or something like that. I don't even remember.
Well, the whole point of this whole video came out a day later answering those questions, right? They're like, yes, Logan is in the future. In the movie, it's like 2029. This, you know, we're not even there in our own timeline. So this is before the end of Logan. So it kind of just bypasses it all completely, is what they say. You know, like, so, and you know, literally, if you go look at this, the descriptions, like, number 1, timeline questions, number 2, Logan canon, number 3 is MCU FAQ, and then at the end they're just like, hey, you know, we love you, Kevin Feige, right? At the end of it, like, that's really it. Like, I feel like this one was made the same day because it's in the same house, but they're like answering the literally what fans would be, like you said, having discourse on the internet about for like 24 hours. They knew ahead of time what people were gonna do. Which is why I love this movie. You know, not this movie, this little clip here. It's a minute 16. They play, as you mentioned, Wham's "Wake Me Up Before You Go," knowing that, you know, Deadpool's a huge Wham fan in the movie. So honestly, even if it's like at the end it serves as a transition into the MCU due to, like, you know, multiverses or whatever, totally fine. This is fun. I think when they do in Marvel a Wolverine, it will not be Hugh Jackman. They're going to have somebody else in their mutants, but, like, this is going to be a fun little journey to get Ryan Reynolds in there, because I don't think Hugh Jackman will do this role after this movie ever again. If I was a bet man, this is his one and done, and the paycheck was big enough to get him on board to do it.
Yeah,
so.
And also it's just probably like, oh, let's just have like a fun little lark, you know, people want to see me again. It'll be kind of one of those things where, like, well, if you come back again, like a second time after this, it's like a little less special,
right?
You know,
yeah.
Right? Just like, oh, okay.
Yep. The never-ending cameos of that, but yeah, I think this is great. It exists in that September 6, 2024 spot, or that we talked about last week, where, like, or 2 weeks ago, where, like, Marvel moved up a weird movie that didn't have a release date, and we thought they were going to move it because it's right before Fantastic Four and right after Thunderbolts. So I was like, what are they going to do with this? No, we're actually going to get Thunderbolts, then a month and a half later, Deadpool 3, and then 2 months later, Fantastic Four. So I would love to see him in Secret Wars after, you know, this announcement. I'm like, this is perfect. Deadpool in Secret Wars is going to be awesome, right? Like, just having him kind of be Ryan Reynolds with everybody else the whole time. I think it'd be a great time. So, check out those trailers below and get ready for that. If you didn't know, Mike, Black Adam tickets are on sale. It is debuted on October 21st. I did get, this is like the same weekend as my wife's birthday, so I had to get permission to get tickets for this before I did. So, we did get them. I told her, I was like, I don't care if I go opening night. I just need to have it done by Sunday so we can talk about it. So if I end up going, like, Saturday morning at, like, the 11 o'clock show, I'm not going to be upset to watch this movie.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, I don't know if this movie is going to be great or if it's just going to be incredibly average. But all I can say is I'm just not excited for it, right? And I think this is what happens when your movie is just only vaguely tied to other movies and universes, right? We talk about this a lot of time where the great thing about these, like, franchises with these comic book movies is they have, like, this, I hate to say the word energy, I'd rather say, like, the term X factor, right? That brings you back to the theater because you're already kind of committed to this universe. I mean, Black Adam kind of seems to be related to Shazam at some point in time, but we haven't seen that connection, right? We've only had one Shazam movie to start off with, so we don't really have a whole lot to base off what world he may or may not be living in. Like we talked about the other week, we get sometimes some little teaser trailers where they try to associate like Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa with it. So it's just like, I don't really know what to expect. I don't know what's going on here. I feel like my ticket is going to Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
I like Pierce Brosnan. I want to see Dr. Fate because I loved him in the Justice League cartoon, and I think he also made appearances in Young Justice, if I remember correctly, as well. So I'll be there for Pierce Brosnan. I haven't got my tickets. It'll probably be one of those things where like October, like the third week of October rolls around, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot this movie's coming out. I better go like you said, Chris, find a ticket that's probably like on a random like Sunday morning or something.
Yeah,
like that.
And I think honestly, I don't think it's as like the quality of the movie's bad, or like again, The Rock's not a bad actor. Is it just because this has been delayed? Are we just worn out from seeing it for so long? Like we're like, just get on with it kind of thing. Like I think that's where I kind of sit with it. Not necessarily that it's not connected. I'm excited for this Justice Society, right? Not only Pierce Brosnan, we have Hawkman and Atom Smasher and I believe Cyclone, but like I just want to see what it does. Like let's just get this kind of almost generic-y superhero movie over with. I feel like we're watching a Venom trailer right now when we're watching it, right? Like there's like one thing that might draw us in, but like not everything's there along the way.
If the DC universe was as competent, as successful as Marvel was, a Black Adam movie would come out and we would see, you know, how we're seeing all of these different characters in the movie. You got like the Atom, or you mentioned all the characters.
Yeah, Atom
like
Smasher
one of those
and
characters.
Cyclone,
yeah, like one of those characters would be like someone from the Suicide Squad that we've met already, right? One of the other characters might be somebody from like a Young Justice movie or something. Like maybe like a Nightwing would be in there. Like, you know, we would have like this little bit of cross-pollination that would get us a little bit more excited. But no, it's basically a brand new movie, possibly kicking off a whole new franchise.
But the Amanda Waller trailer isn't doing it for you, where she's the one connecting all these movies together.
Well, is it the Amanda Waller from Suicide Squad or the Amanda Waller from Suicide Squad?
It's the same actress. That's actually the one connecting piece between everything is using Viola Davis as.
Sorry, is it the Amanda Waller from Peacemaker?
Yeah.
You know, who knows?
Same one. I don't know what you're talking about. No. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Well, I think my thing is, and I'm not going to beat this dead horse. Everything from the trailer is from other superhero movies, right? The Justice Society jet is the Blackbird jet from X-Men. Comes out of their tennis court in their backyard. The scenes where he's flying with the jets is from Iron Man 1, where Iron Man is flying next to the jets. And he's like dodging explosions and missiles. I'm like, it feels like it's trying too hard to be the other successful movies without, you know, making its own voice out there. And that's my concern, is I want it to stand alone, want it to do its own thing, and be good on its own merits rather than borrowing from other movies. So hopefully we get some more of that. But yes, tickets are on sale. If you haven't got them or want to get them early, go right ahead. Just a quick note here. I did see this pop up as a blip in the newsfeed this week. The movie Static Shock, based on the character Static in the DC universe, in the cartoon series from, I believe, the early 2000s. That was on the movie. The artist for this comic has assured us the movie is still happening, despite the HBO Max Discovery merger, where they're just nixing everything. So.
I mean, I'm not saying the person isn't, a credible professional, but I wouldn't take their word for it, right? It's almost kind of like when an actor thinks that they know what's happening, and they only know what their agents and managers are telling them and what they read in that version of the script that was given them. They don't know anything else beyond that. It's kind of like there was like a bit of news earlier this week where people are trying to make these clickbaity headlines of just like, oh, Elizabeth Olsen said that she would love to return to the MCU so she could share scenes with like Hugh Jackman. It's just like, oh, that's just all pointless.
You're clickbaiting. You're clickbaiting.
Exactly.
You're creating titles that people don't actually know about.
And guess what? DC has already proven it doesn't even matter. Even if the movie goes into development and they shoot the film and get it 80-90% done, that's not even a proven fact that you'll get to see the movie.
I think his comment ties into the news that we've talked about offline this week, is the Stadia. Google Stadia shutting down. literally people publishing the game, with games coming out still on Stadia later this year, next year, were not told about this until it hit the news. So the artist can easily believe this movie is still happening until it hits the news. Hey, it's not happening, and that's how he finds out. So I feel companies can just put out a press release and totally pull the rugs out from under you. They have no obligations to tell you beforehand if they want to. So hopefully it does. I think people have been waiting for this movie for a very, very long time. They deserve it. But there is no guarantee on this stuff. And speaking of video games, Mike, because we talked about Stadia, the last thing we're going to talk about today is The Last of Us, a first official trailer for this video game adaptation coming to HBO. And I know you're a huge fan of this game, huge fan. And there's a lot more people in this trailer than I expected to be in this. I thought the movie was less people, more infected people. So break it down what you thought of this and help me understand a little bit of what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I feel like my two takeaways here of, I'm trying to figure out, right, how long does this first season take us into kind of the video game story? You could say the video game right now is kind of broken up into two chapters in a way of you got the first game and you got the second game. And I think if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I played that first game, but there's a shot in this trailer where it shows somebody on a horse in the winter. And I feel like that is pretty far into the first game. So it makes me wonder, are they doing a pretty significant portion in just this first season? Or maybe I'm just looking into that shot a little bit much. But so far, everything looks great. Actually, the unfortunate thing is the Last of Us video game is so good just to start off with, narratively and visually. I feel like when you get kind of like that one still shot of the trailer that everyone's been waiting for, where we get to see one of the clickers, right? I did my frame by frame, I did a screenshot, and I looked at it. I was like, this could just be a still
from the game,
the video from the game, and you even get to hear the clickers in this trailer. And I am almost dead positive that they're working with the exact same sound team that worked on the games, the same engineers. They're probably even sending over the same MP3 files that are loaded in the actual Last of Us games, because it sounds exactly like it. So it's kind of one of these weird things where it's they're interpreting a source material that's already so realistic,
Yeah.
If somebody tried to make a Crash Bandicoot video game, right, that's obviously not going to look like it. So,
yeah, and the game just had
everything.
Well, go ahead. No, I'm sorry. It's the game had a remaster, right? So they even have newer high res textures that they could be borrowing back and forth with this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how far this first season goes, how much material we have. It's Neil Druckmann who created The Last of Us and is in charge of the story. He's heavily involved, so who knows? There could even be a possibility that if we surpass the source material of the two video games, they could possibly go off in another direction. If this show is incredibly popular, right, they could have I wouldn't say a Game of Thrones problem in a way of just they surpass George R.R. Martin and have to kind of go off on their own, but it seems like Neil Druckmann will be there to help them out. So yeah, I'm just crossing my fingers, hoping that we just have something video game related that really breaks through to live action. I'd love that.
Now, do you tell me what I was under the impression there were several years, if not a longer time in between video games, part 1 and part 2. Is that am I misunderstanding that?
Yeah. I don't remember the exact length of time, but basically, Ellie, you would consider her a child in the very first game, and by the second game she is kind of burgeoning. Is that a word? What word am I looking for here? She's
budgeting.
On the cusp. Budgeting. She's on the cusp of adulthood, right? She carries her own weapons. She seeks out her own revenge, if you will.
Yeah.
She is a young adult. So I would say between the two games, God, I don't even want to say because I don't want to be wrong. It's at least 5 to 7 years, something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, to me, I was expecting, from what I've seen. Again, I've not played the games. I actually own the first one on PlayStation. I just haven't got time to it, and I know people are just play it. I'm like, a single player with a really good story, like that's a commitment to me to play. So I don't want to. I need to make sure what I'm doing, I'm doing it right. But like, there's just a lot more people in here, so it looks like maybe there's like a lot of or like during this infection, the world lost, right? Like when people are kind of going down. I did see a sign that says report signs of cordyceps infection. So it looks like maybe, and it's like a rusted sign. So like maybe this has been around for a while at this point. So very, very interesting to learn myself more about this Last of Us universe and, you know, and how the show goes. So looks good. Well, Mike, that's been the show for this week. If people know what you're up to, what you're doing, what kind of candy corn varieties you're getting yourself into, where can they find that?
They can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, VALDAN, or Instagram, Valdan87, or head over to Rad Retro Bros on Instagram as well. If people know more about the show, what we're doing, what we're doing weekly, I guess our next episode for review is Black Adam. When can they get ready for all that good stuff?
Yeah, if you want to check out our show notes or our upcoming release calendar of all of these millions of movies that are coming out over the next couple years, head on over to superheroslate.com. There you can also find everywhere we host the podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to find podcasts. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Please reach out. Let us know if you're excited for Black Adam. Mm-hmm. Are you ready to get your Black Panther tickets? I mean, by the time you listen to this, I think those Black Panther tickets will be ready to go. So hop on to those.
Yep.
We love our super fans. If you want to be a super fan of this show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend. Share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, folks.
That's right. We'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.